What's going on, mobile gamers? Today I'm going to show you guys how to play some Sony PlayStation on your Odin 2. Let's jump in and level up our gaming knowledge. Alright, mobile gamers, so we're going to set up playing PlayStation on our Odin 2. The very first thing you should do is set up a folder called PlayStation PS1, either on your SD card or your internal storage. I'm using my SD card for this because that's where all of my games are going to be stored. I'm going to create a folder called PlayStation, another folder called Games, and then I have a folder in here called CHD because these are all my CHD compressed games. That is just a file extension for a compression file for all of these games. I do have a video that covers that. If you ever noticed, when you get a game, it might be in the form of an ISO or a .bin.q file. So the video shows you how to compress them to one single file so that you don't have to mess around with a whole bunch of different file names. That being said, I also have a folder called Saves because I'm going to save my memory card files into the Saves folder during this guide and show you how to do that. Now that we have all that, you're going to download the file in the link in the description below. It is the BIOS file. This BIOS file works for PAL, NTSC region games. So go to your downloads folder after you've downloaded that. Look for the file that's called scph1001.bin. Now grab it and copy it in a safe place. I like to copy it to my PlayStation folder so that it's just there. Click copy. And now we're going to go to the Google Play Store and download the application called Duckstation. There we go. There's Duckstation right there. Now click install. Now wait for that to install. And once it's installed, we're going to click play. Now we're going to set this up. The Odin 2 is a very powerful device. As you guys have probably known, it can play a lot of different emulation. So the resolution for this, we're going to set it to 5x. You can go up to 16 times, but I don't see a point in that. It's not really beneficial by all means. The GPU render, I keep it at OpenGL. I've never had any changes when I change it to Vulkan, but that's all up to you. If you find that Vulkan's better for you, just use Vulkan. Aspect ratio, I use match display. I don't use game native, only for the sake that I like to actually see the screen stretched out all the way on my device, and I think it looks fine. Some of you might yell at me for that, but that's all up to your preference. You can try out widescreen hacks. Some people might say widescreen hacks is the way to go, but I don't recommend it. Next, we're going to import our BIOS. Click that import BIOS, go to your folder where you save that scph1001.bin file. Now click it. Click OK. You don't need to do anything else here. Click next. And now we're going to import our games directory. So click games, click on the folder wherever your games are. Mine is inside the CHD folder. Click allow. Now it's going to scan all the subdirectories, which means that it's just going to scan any folders that are inside that folder. Click next, click finish, let it do its thing, and load all your games. I don't have a huge library of games, but these are the games that I play. Now we're going to click the three lines. I'm going to show you your controller settings. Your controller settings go like this. Click touchscreen, click on touch controller view, click none. Now that's going to get rid of the controller overlay on the device. Remember, this was made for an Android device and the developer thought, let's have on-screen buttons. So we're going to get rid of those. Now we're going to go to port 1. Our controller type is based off of whatever you like. The digital controller is just basically the D-pad and the buttons and the R1 and R2. The analog controller allows us to use our joystick if you want to, which I'm going to set up. I'm going to use my D-pad to D-pad up, right, down, and left. Now you can see another setting that says perform automatic mapping. So we're going to actually click that, click Odin controller, and you can watch the magic happen. If you have any issues, I've just showed you how to automatically map it, but we can double check to make sure that our left joystick is actually on these right axes, just to make sure that everything's aligned. So that's how you set up your controller. It's very straightforward, pretty quick and easy. Now we're going to navigate over to hotkeys. Hotkeys are things like your fast forward, toggle fast forward on and off. I like to toggle it, so I'm going to turn it on and keep it on, and then when I turn the button off, which is my M2 button, I'll turn it off. Saving screenshots, saving your save states, rewinding the game, quick load, quick save. So I'm going to go quick save as my M1 button, which is my button 98. And all these other toggles, it's all up to your preference what you set your buttons to. We only have so many, so we can't really set too many for our hotkeys. That's controllers. Now let's navigate to app settings. This is where we're going to set up our interface and our system and graphics and everything. So I'm going to make sure that my GPU renders OpenGL. Texture filtering, I like to set it to bilinear, which kind of smooths out the graphics a bit. I'm going to go to my aspect ratio and set it to match display, not game native. For whatever reason from the intro, it doesn't actually save that, so just make sure that that's set if you're going to match the display. Integer upscaling, I'm not going to test that or check that off. Linear upscaling, I like to keep that on. Stretch to fill screen, well, if we're already matching display, we don't really need to set that to on whatsoever. All these other settings, if you want to mess around with them, it's all up to you, but it's up to your preference. System, we don't need to change anything in here because our overclocking and everything is great on this device, so we don't need to set that up. Fast boot, so this skips the BIOS screen, so maybe you want to see that PlayStation logo pop up when you play the game. You can turn that off so that you can see it. Save states on exit, so if you exit the game, it'll automatically save the state and pick up where you left off. Load patch codes, apply game settings. I'm not going to go over the patch codes or anything like that for this. I'm not a big person on cheats and patches and textures and stuff. I like to show the stuff if you guys request it, but I'm not going to actually set that up. Showing your frames per second, I'm going to turn that on just for the sake of this video, just to show you, but you can turn that off at any time. And all of your other stuff, like show your resolution, CPU usage, GPU usage, that's all statistic stuff. You might not want to have that on. Show messages, I like to turn that off because I don't care to see when I've saved my game, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. That's basically what that is. I like to make it feel like I'm actually playing the system. Now, memory cards. This part I've had questioned quite a bit, so I'm going to cover this. We're going to go to memory cards. We're going to first create a new memory card. I'm going to name this D and A, just like so. I'm going to click create. Now you're going to notice that you can't find anywhere here to actually use that memory card. That's because our memory card type for memory card 1 is based off of our game title. That's going to save a memory card based off of whatever game you're playing. So if you're playing Spyro, it would be a memory card Spyro.mcd, for example. But I want to use a memory card that's shared between all my games. I'm going to select my DNA.mcd. Now the reason why you'd want this is, say you have 3 different games that you want to have different memory cards for. You can back this up to a computer, you can back this up to another device, for example, and have your memory card forever. So how you would do that is you would go to your home, go to your files, go to your 3 lines, go to Odin 2, which is your main device, go to Android, go to data, go to Duckstation, go to files, go to memory cards, grab this file, click copy, go to your 3 lines, go to your Odin 2, your SD card, or wherever you want to save this, go to your PlayStation, go to your saves folder, and click copy. Now, I'm going to go back and delete that file from my data folder, so I'm going to go to my Duckstation, files, memory card, and delete that, just so I can show you that I can actually import that. Oops, delete. Now it's gone. Now I'm going to go back into Duckstation, and this gives you an option to actually import your memory card saves. So say you had a memory card that somebody gave you, or maybe you had your own backup of one. You can import that, and then go back into share between all games, and then select that. Now it's already going to select because I already had it selected before, so it saves in the storage. But that's basically memory cards in a nutshell. So you can switch between the memory cards that you want to basically set up for each game. So I'm going to show you that in a second here. So if I go to Crash Bandicoot, for example, I go to game properties, I long press that, I set my memory card, and I set my memory card to my shared memory card, which is just this one right here. That'll save all my data from that game specifically only to that DNA.mcd. You can use global settings as well, so the global settings are the ones that we just set up. That's all that means, so you don't have to change anything here, but maybe you want just a specific memory card to hold all your game data for Spyro and Crash Bandicoot alone, and maybe you want all your save data for Final Fantasy, for example, on a different card. That's basically how you set that up. So I'm not going to touch any of that stuff. We're just going to go into the game, and I'm going to show you it loading and rendering on screen. As you can see, we can see our FPS on the top right hand side. I'm going to click on my fast forward button so I can go through the title screen. and all the other cutscenes and everything, and just wait and wait and wait, and then see how fast we can go. There's no crashes, and there we go. Now, Crash Bandicoot is what I'm going to use, and AAA, I'm going to go all the way down. As you can see, I can use my joystick, empty, and Boogadabara is on the screen, and he's talking. I'm going to fast forward, and let's drive. And there we go. So as you can see, we're playing with our joystick. We can also play with our D-pad if we want to, just like a PlayStation controller. I know that was a lot. Timestamps are in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe. Enjoy playing PlayStation on your Odin 2. Because I know I will. Bye-bye!